Calling to order the Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, November 20th, 2014. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Dorbin.
Here.
Acting Chairman Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Powers.
Here.
I'm Commissioner Stilen. I'm present. Commissioner Vito is absent without notice. Commissioner Zangara.
I'm here.
With notice.
And
With notice.
Commissioner Rufato is absent with prior notice.
Commissioner Vito was
Did I say
absent
without?
with prior notice too. Yeah. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
We have no changes to the agenda.
Okay. Next is citizens' concerns and comments. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak on any matter other than what's already on the agenda for tonight, and seeing nobody in the crowd, we'll move on. We have no consent items. So items for review. Docket number PC 14-23, Superdog Drive-In, 333 South Milwaukee Avenue, minor site plan approval for site modifications. Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. Petitioner is here present to discuss this item with you. Superdog Drive-In currently has a pickup window. The proposal is to modify the operation of that pickup window slightly. It involves a few other site modifications. The proposal also includes a seasonal outdoor dining area in the front of the restaurant in addition to the existing one in the rear. With that, I'd like to hand it over to the petitioner for a description of the proposal.
Hello, friends. I am Scott Berman. I am both owner of Superdog Drive-In with my family and also attorney for Superdog Drive-In. The reason that we're here tonight making this application is for a very minor site plan modification. When we opened Superdog, our intent was to run as a traditional drive-in as we do in Chicago and have for 60-some years prior to opening in Wheeling. But we've realized now after 5 years in Wheeling that the suburban customers are demanding, in addition to the drive-in service, which they continue to like, and the dining room service, they are demanding that we run our pickup window more traditionally. The way that we had intended to run it and the way we've been running it is if you pulled into a car hop order space, of which we had 79, you'd press a button, a car hop would take your order, and if you said it was to go, she would offer you the opportunity to come around and pick up your food at the pickup window. This appears to be too cumbersome for many of our customers. They don't like that extra ordering at the space, pulling into a spot, pulling out of the spot, and pulling around. They want to line up in a traditional drive-through line. Luckily, when we designed the building and the parking lot, we designed into it this possibility. We didn't want to use it because we know it'll drive-in car hop business, and we have to make certain labor adjustments to do that. So we did, though, design the parking lot, you'll notice on your drawings, with not only a wide entry drive on the south side of our parking lot that drives all the way to the back, but a double wide driveway on the far eastern portion of our parking lot as it abuts the picnic area. That double wide, actually much wider than double wide driveway, is enough to accommodate the drive-through lane, which then loops around, which we'll show you in the next drawing, and brings up the drive-through to the pickup window. We not only thought this might be a possibility, but we also, at the same time that we built the building, we put pipes in the ground to run a electrical and Cat 5 line to a possible order pylon that we are locating on the drawing. So now let me walk you through the drawing real quickly so you can understand what we intend to do. At point number 1, you'll see the drive-through menu and order pylon. That is where the ordering car will order. That pylon is simply an electronic box that gets placed in the ground at the site where the Cat 5 and electrical pipe already exists. You'll see number 2 is the removal of 7 previous employee parking spaces that did not have electronic ordering at them, and that removal of those spaces and restriping allows for cars then to line up, moving in from south to north pattern before they turn left westbound and come around to order at the pylon. Number 3, move over to your left on the drawing, you'll see the drive-through pickup location, 4 spaces that would be identified with signage and striping, so that we know that our food delivery is not always fast. We never intended to be fast food. We are what's known as fast casual, meaning that everything is cooked to order. Even your Superdog is not already made. Nothing is already made. So as we expect, some cars will have to pull out of line. Those cars that order at the pylon, pay at the window, will then pull off to the newly identified 4 pull-off locations. You see then over on the right, the number 4, which is the taking away of 4 electronic spaces, and then the addition of the 7 already existing employee spaces makes 11 employee-only spaces designated as such. The reason that's important is that if that was a frequent customer movement in and out of those spaces, it might interfere with the drive-through lane, and we don't want to interfere with the drive-through lane, both for safety and also for convenience of the customers and the drive-through people. So by redesignating these as employee-only spaces, they only have then one movement in, one movement out a day, or maybe 2 if we're shifting between lunch business and dinner business. So it's not a frequent employee business move. And then if you'll go to number 5, over on the left-hand side of the drawing, you'll see where we intend to put our outdoor picnic area adjacent to the building. Why is this necessary when we have over 100 beautiful seats of picnic tables that we are going to continue to have facing the woods? Because many of the customers have said, besides the customers that love that, many other customers have said, we want to self-service, take our tray with us, but we don't want to walk so far from the building to the picnic area. And we also want the ambience of being closer to the drive-in fun. Trying to answer that customer request, we are intending to take these spaces only at the front of the building, turn them into picnic table spaces, 1 picnic table per space. The tables are the same tables that we use now. They're a beautiful rubberized metal table, very sturdy, very clean, and with 1 picnic table per space, 8 people per table, we can then sit many more people up in front in nice weather. They can order from the electronic system, which we don't intend to remove. We intend to keep it there, so CarHops could deliver food to them if they want that. But at the same time, they can then be pleased to know that they'll be able to walk into the door immediately adjacent, get their food, walk right out of the door, and take that food to that picnic table. So that is the reason for all of this, and why you see it's a minor site modification. None of this requires construction, excavation, recurbing. The only thing it requires for us is the removal of 4 electronic speaker positions. That's merely taking them off their posts and capping them. The 2 at the employee area, which was designated as number 4, and then the 2 at the drive-through pickup area. So we have to remove those 4 electronic order positions and then restripe, and that's about all that it takes to turn what we have already, a successful drive-in and dining room restaurant, into successful drive-in, dining room, and drive-through.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll start with Commissioner Dorband.
I don't really have any questions, but I guess I'm looking at your design and where you've got the people coming in, driving in and going around to get to the pylon where they will be placing the order.
Yes.
Can you guesstimate how many people will be backed up in there, cars you could get?
We can get 7 cars into that stack lane.
Okay.
It was built for that. We know that's what the measurements are. It works smoothly.
Okay, so, and I'm looking at your note down in the bottom right corner. You're actually cutting down the number of employees, what it looks like?
We already did do that. With better operation through the last couple of years since we opened, we realized that with a shifting of full-time and part-time employees and better controlling lunch, midday, dinner, mid-evening, we're able to run with a slightly smaller staff than we had before.
Okay, so basically your numbers are pretty much the same as they were before, it's just you're maneuvering space differently.
That's exactly right.
That's the only question, thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, as the Plan Commission knows, I'm normally a stickler for parking and try to get as many parking spaces as we can on an individual parcel. But in this case, I think that adding a drive-through facility will actually allow you to get more people through your business than the old way of your doing business. So I think you're actually going to do more business with less parking because of the drive-through. I think that's what your intention is.
That's correct. That's what we're hoping.
So, you know, very unusual for me to say, but I think this is really going to work very well and in your favor. The only thing that I would ask, because people that have frequented your place know how to navigate your property, could we stripe the area where the drive-through lane and stacking area is so that people can still go around the outside, whatever?
Yes, I'm meeting with the striper this Saturday, who assures me that weather is no problem as long as there's not snow on the ground, and we intend to stripe fully not only the drive-through lanes, but also the employee parking spaces with new arrows on the pavement, and then new signage that we've already talked to our sign people about putting signs, small signs internal to the parking lot that merely direct people with our logo, drive-through, drive-through, just an arrow pointing forward. So they will then know there is a drive-through, unlike what they're used to.
But the people that used to drive around the facility, are you going to have any informational or guidance signs for them?
To instruct them how to order from a drive-in?
But-
We've actually thought of that, by the way, but we don't know how long that explanation would have to be. But yes, that is a problem. Some people don't understand that.
No, I was more thinking about the people that would have driven around the site to park in the back or whatever, close to the back picnic area. They're not going to be able to do that very easily anymore, so they're going to have to now make a full circuit and go maneuver back to the front where they might not normally have parked.
It's a very good question, and unlike the way that I answered about teaching people how to order from a drive-in, which many people are becoming educated to, you're absolutely right. We are going to put up signs that tell people that all spaces are universal. That has caused some confusion over the years at Superdog Wheeling, where people in Chicago, there are only speakered spaces. And everybody knows that if you're going to go up front or go into the dining room, you have to park at a speakered space. In Wheeling, they don't know that. So they will now be re-educated with these signs to tell them that electronic ordering system does not mean that you must order from a car hop. So we'll have plentiful parking.
Okay, great. I think you'll be very successful.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Zangara.
Thank you. Basically, my question was, I have a question regarding the seasonal picnic area. Will there be any kind of seasonal fencing or anything?
Yes, bollards, either significant bollards that will be placed there on a permanent basis, semi-permanent basis. They're removable at the end of the season, but on a strong basis. Or if we decide that that doesn't work as well, there's some nicer looking Jersey barriers. I hate to use that term because it connotes such a ugly looking big white concrete thing, but there are some nicer looking Jersey barriers that are low and heavy and strong. So yes, we definitely want to not only instruct people that they are not to park there anymore because there's a picnic table in their way, but also to make sure that they can't.
Okay. And then think the drive-through thing's a really good idea, but what you stated in the beginning, when you said people order and go pick up, and I know you mentioned the dining casual, now they're gonna order and then go park to wait for their food.
It could be. That is true, and it's something that we've noticed. I personally am not a big fan of drive-throughs, but that's beside the point. We've noticed, though, my sister is a big fan, by the way, and we've noticed that at many other drive-through locations that are fast casual, people are asked to pull over. It's a regularized system that people understand, and we know that our customers will too, and for some reason, we think, we know that our customers will like this. It's not for some reason we know that they already like this kind of a system of pulling off to receive their fast casual delivered to them.
That was the only question I was coming up with, that was your location for your menu board. It's basically your location, then window.
Correct.
Would it be wiser to put that menu board further back so you could have stacking after they order, since it's not really fast, or?
No, because we can serve some food quickly.
Okay.
We can serve ice cream quickly, drinks, of course, and Super Dogs fairly quickly. We can turn out up to 10 Super Dogs in about a minute and a half, that quickly.
Okay.
We have a triangular steam table, so we can move the cars quickly if they're ordering dogs, ice cream, drinks. We're hoping not to, by this, encourage people to then only order Super Dogs and go away from the other menu items, which would take a little longer, but we can order quickly enough. We can deliver food quickly enough to them.
Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Commissioner Stylen. I think if you do some kind of indication on drive-through lane, especially around the back there, put a solid stripe with drive-through, I think that would just help things out. Question about the front area, the picnic tables, and are there currently trash receptacles in the front there?
There are.
And will the picnic tables match the picnic tables that are in the back?
There'll be the identical tables and the identical trash receptacles. There are already 2 trash receptacles for these 7 spaces, so we don't have to put any more trash receptacles there, but the tables that we are buying are from the same company. They will be the identical tables.
Okay, and then the menu board that you're going to put in, will it match the other boards that are in the site?
It will match identically. It is a copy of those electronic ordering boards that we have inside and outside, but for this, we decided not to have a large plastic backlit sign. We think that would take away from some of the fun of the drive-in. We are intending instead, although this is conceptual, to have a 4x8 board, as the sign company has described it to us, which is a computer copy of our menu with auto finish paint on it. So it is a highly glossy paint with a permanent finish with gooseneck lights in an old-fashioned format that'll spread light down on the board. Brightly lighting the board, but keeping it classic and old-fashioned. We don't want to look too similar to everybody else, and we don't want to look too high-tech. We want to look like you're a cool drive-in restaurant that you're pulling into.
And Andrew, are you guys okay with that?
I think what we would do is once that conceptual design is available, it sounds like it would be eligible for consent agenda review from us, so.
Okay.
But once that's available, I think the urgency of this application was really related to the striping and the season, and the detail of the board. I think we can handle on consent at a later date.
I intend to bring that to you, both the board, the menu board, and also the internal signs that say drive-through and point people in the right direction in the parking lot.
So how many, we were taking out, what, like 10 spaces in the new dining area in the front there?
7.
7, and then you said one table, you're going to put one table per space, correct? And each table will serve 8 people?
Correct.
All right, and then in the winter, you're just going to leave the tables there? Or-
No.
So you're going to, you're going to gather those up, and what would you do with them? Are you going to allow people to go back in there and park?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're going to remove the bollards or jersey barriers. The spaces will be there for everybody's winter convenience, which people do like parking close to the building in the winter. We have a 15,000 square foot warehouse in Skokie where we store all of our paper and potatoes, and we have plenty of storage for 7 tables.
Yeah, I had a question about the, like putting bollards so somebody doesn't like back in there. I think it's a great idea. I think in the removable ones, I've never heard of that, but that totally makes sense to me too, so I think that's a great idea. The only other question I had was the location of the new menu board and like people pulling in and like, is there any, with the stacking lanes and stuff like that, I think like right by the menu board, there's like a sidewalk area that's gonna possibly be blocked when somebody's like placing an order. Is there any concern like, yeah, I guess it's almost like the location of the thing, if somebody was really using that sidewalk, that maybe it should be like striped or something, so it's like somebody, it's like you cut off the function of the sidewalk. I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but just so you guys realize that, you know, something, the sidewalks there, if cars are stacking in that one particular area, that could be an issue. I don't really think so, but just so you guys are aware of it.
We thought of it. It's for us, it's an auxiliary sidewalk. Doesn't mean customers can't use it, but it's really a sidewalk for the car hops and for our back door. Car hops and our back door can be used from other parts of that sidewalk. Customers don't usually, because to enter at that sidewalk would be to walk all the way around the building, so they usually wouldn't enter the sidewalk at that point. But you are right, it is going to block. At that time, when a car is ordering, that sidewalk will be blocked for those few seconds.
Yeah, I have nothing else. I think it's, I think it's gonna work out. It's fine.
Thanks.
Okay. Most of what I had have been answered already. I was concerned about the safety of the people in the new seating area. But it sounds like you've got Plan A and Plan B already.
Oh, yeah.
And like Commissioner Zangara, I thought moving the ordering point further upstream might help. To Commissioner Powers' point, what if the pylon were just moved to the other side of that sidewalk?
Then it would block the outflow from the one pass-through driveway. If you'll notice, we have a double driveway system, which was intentionally built this way. There is the driveway to the furthest east. That is the one that we are splitting, 25 feet for pass-around cars, and the 12 feet, I think 13 feet for the drive-through. But then you'll notice immediately to the west of it, there are electronic ordering spaces, and there is the continually open driveway there. By striping and putting appropriate stop signs on the drive and stop signs erected, we're going to erect a stop sign at the point where the turn car begins to turn west. That first west car must stop at that driveway. But that's the reason why.
Good luck with that.
Well, both striping a stop line and a stop sign, it is unlikely that they will be blocking that too often. I guess we don't think that they will. That's why I'm such a skilled traffic director at times. Hopefully they won't.
I've seen you in action, yeah.
But you've seen me in action. But hopefully they won't be blocking that. If we were to move the ordering position in any other way, it would more likely block that driveway.
Okay.
We'd rather do it this way, we think. And as for moving the cars, going back to this other question, we can move them more quickly from pylon through a two-stack order at the window. You notice one car is at the window while one car is behind. There's plenty of room for two cars there. We can have those three cars waiting, ordering and getting their food while the other cars are stacking. If we stack them too far back, we're actually wasting space of the three cars that could pull up.
Okay. I have nothing else. Any other questions, Commissioner Stylen?
You know, I think if it does become a problem that where you wanted to put that stop sign and the possible area of congestion, if you just blocked that area off and drew the right, connect the two green lines with something solid so that people would have to exit out, enter in and exit out the same way, and then they wouldn't interfere at all with the stacking.
We thought of that, and we might have to do that. We'd rather not, because of the bottleneck created then by those cars in that relatively small electronic ordering area right now, coming and going one car at a time. But suddenly, if we create a dead end, which would be the only dead end in the parking lot, we could have a bad backup that we're trying to avoid. So that's something I'd rather not do. We talked about turning that into the employee spaces for that reason of putting that barricade across that, but we didn't like that either because those are popular spaces. They're close to the building. People like parking close to the building for the ambience, except those that park near to the picnic area. So we'd like to keep it this way, but we will be very conscious of operational issues, both safety and also car movement, to make sure that nobody's dead-ended and nobody's blocked. But it's all a good question, all things that we've discussed at length.
Yeah, and I think if it were blocked off with something solid, those two northernmost spots would be very difficult to back out of and get back.
That's what we're trying not to do.
Yeah, so I can see that. Any other questions?
Andrew, could we put a condition in about the menu board sign that before it goes in, it has to come to us in consent?
Yeah, we can do that.
I accept that also. That's fine.
I'm sure it'll be very nice.
Most of what we do is. We try very hard.
Absolutely.
So we have one condition of approval suggested at this point, that the signage return for appearance review prior to permit issuance. Sign permit issuance.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Powers, seconded by Commissioner Dorban. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes?
I'm Commissioner Stylin. I vote yes. Commissioner Zangara?
Yes.
Acting Chairman Johnson?
Yes.
Looks like 5 yes with 2 absent.
Great, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you all.
Something for you to sign, of course.
Thank you.
Everybody leaves with some paper.
It'll pop up down there.
Thank you again.
Pass it down.
Oh, is that the crosswalk being struck back in? Yes.
All right, calling docket number 2014-17, Total Healthcare LLC, 1716 West Wolf Road, special use site plan approval for a medical cannabis dispensary. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2014-17, Total Healthcare LLC, contract leasee, is seeking a special use site plan approval as required under Title 19, zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-07, Industrial Districts, Chapter 19-10, Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12, Site Plan Approval Requirements and associated sections in order to establish a medical cannabis dispensary at 1716 South Wolf Road, which is zoned I-1 Light Industrial District. The standards for a special use, a zoning special use is defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning, is the use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing why the request meets the condition of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements to show that their request for special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings of support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. And Mr. Jennings.
Nothing of major consequence at this time. The petitioner has received the staff report and has provided some responses, which I'm sure that they'll cover in their presentation. As I mentioned during the review of the most recent special use for a medical cannabis dispensary, the Village of Wheeling is not the licensing agency in this. We do have the special use review authority. We are in receipt of a total of 4 applications at this point. All 4 of those applications will be reviewed on their individual merits with respect to the standards for a special use. Each set of recommendations and findings will be forwarded on to the village board. It's entirely possible the village board could approve all 4 of those, at which point the state of Illinois application process will select the one facility which could be licensed in all of Wheeling and Main Township. So with that, I'd like to open the floor to the petitioner. I do have a couple of comments if they don't handle during their presentation.
All right, before we start, I need to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Are you two the only 2 that are going to be speaking?
Yes.
Okay. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please give your name and address to the secretary.
Good evening, Commission. Nice to meet you. My name is Brian Friedman. It's my pleasure to be here with my partner, Matt Gagerman. Before we start, I think it's important that everyone understands that every business is about its people. What I want to impress upon everybody tonight is the seriousness with which we take all of our endeavors. I have spent the last 17 years as a healthcare investment banker. I still am currently employed as a healthcare investment banker. My job over the last 2 decades has been to identify important trends in healthcare that are better for patients and for the public at large. I had the pleasure of identifying an opportunity 15 years ago in helping patients get better orthopedic surgery by linking robotics and software with hardware to have better orthopedic placements for better patient outcomes. In the mid-2000s, I identified an important trend in the regenerative medicine properties of the human body, and I raised the capital for what is now one of the most prominent stem cell companies in the world that is now in partnership with Pfizer, developing drugs and treatments for a variety of indications, including heart attack, stroke, graft versus host disease, and a number of other ailments. In addition to medical devices and therapeutic drugs, I also work with software companies that help streamline communications between doctors and patients and doctors and pharmacies and also their insurance payers. Over the course of my career, I've raised over $500 million for emerging companies, many of which are now public and many of which have been bought by larger entities like Stryker and GE, et cetera. A number of years ago, I identified a trend in the importance of and the benefits of medical cannabis for the patient population. When the state of Illinois made the decision to legalize medical cannabis, I said, okay, this is going to be a good business, this is good for patients, but there are other things that are needed. And in order to run this business properly, you need to have the proper team. Medical cannabis dispensary, interestingly enough, in our many conversations with Police Chief Benson and Fire Chief McKissick, they said, this is like combining a cash dispensary and a pharmacy. And interestingly enough, those are the types of people that we have as partners. Unfortunately, one of our other partners, Steve Collins, couldn't be here tonight. He is a former executive at Abbott. He is currently the chief of staff at the Pritzker Organization. He's also the CEO for Matter Chicago, which is the healthcare incubator that's funded by the mayor, the governor, Northwestern, University of Chicago, Takeda, Abbott, Baxter, and other leading institutions. So our reputation as businessmen and professionals are very much at stake. And why that's relevant is I want to ensure the commission, who is looking out for the town of Wheeling, that we do not want anything that would tarnish your town or our reputations or anything that would damage or cause anything bad to the patient population that we seek to treat. With that being the backdrop, what I immediately came to understand in a medical cannabis dispensary is that you are dispensing a highly regulated product from a secured location that requires identification, verification, and handling of a lot of cash transactions. That immediately came to mind that you need somebody that has experience either in banking or in currency exchange. I have had the pleasure of knowing Matt Gagerman for a couple of decades now, and watching him run and grow and operate over 20 currency exchanges in the state of Illinois as well as throughout the country. These are facilities that everybody has seen, Western Union exchanges, where you are, where there is a high level of security, where the individuals coming have to present their identification. That identification has to be verified. You have to be very vigilant about entering information into a database, and the policies and procedures of that business mirror very closely the policies and procedures set by the state of Illinois. So much so that the regulatory body that regulates Mr. Gagerman's current business is also the same regulating body that regulates medical cannabis dispensary. So as a whole, our team has very good experience in financing healthcare companies, in working with communities and hospitals, that's our partner Steve, and in operating in a very secured environment, in a transaction environment. With that as a backdrop, our application, along with every application that I'm sure you have seen in the previous three, have set forth all the procedures of which patients enter a facility, their ID is checked, it's verified with the state database, the patient is walked in past the first security clearing into a second security room. These policies and procedures have been set by the state. But it's not about what the state sets, but it's about how you follow them. And what I implore, or what I would like to make clear is we are very, very used to operating in those types of environments. And so that is just paramount to who we are and why we're here. The history of how we came to Wheeling, as we started meeting with individuals in many townships in the northern suburbs of Chicago, we were introduced to John Milanofi. We were recommended and told that there were a lot of very interesting things happening in Wheeling. And after meeting with John, it was very clear that this was a very good town with which to work. We've met with the police chief and the fire chief on multiple occasions. and really have enjoyed our interaction. So we appreciate the opportunity to talk here. Happy to go through the security plan or any details. I think it's probably apropos for Matt to give his background, and then happy to answer whatever questions you have.
Need to lower this a little bit. My name's Matt Gagerman. Like Brian said, I've been in the check cashing financial service center for the past 15 years. We own and operate 25 locations in Illinois, 5 in New York, 4 in Arizona. We're an extremely regulated business. Anything that we do is regulated by the state we do business in. But more than that, and I've seen some of the past presenters come up. I know there's going to be a lot of questions in regards to the cash that is in the location. So what's most important is I've spent the past 15 years being regulated by the IRS in what's called a Compliance 31 audit. Every year, the IRS comes out to all of our locations, since we are a cash business, and make sure that we know exactly what to do with that cash. If we have a certain amount, where is it going? How are we reporting it? Who are we reporting it to? Is any of it suspicious? Those are very intricate details of what I do on a daily basis. In our locations, we transfer in and out of the stores over $2-3 million a week in actual cash. Now, that doesn't mean we have that all there at one point in time. The best way to run this is to have as little cash in the store when you open, get it in from an armored car carrier, hopefully dispense it out to the customers that need it, and end the day, obviously, with as little cash as possible. And I just wanted to run you guys through our location and the security plan. Go one more. How do we, sorry. Okay. This is our basic floor plan, which I'm sure you guys have all seen. People are going to walk into the front door. They're going to be buzzed in, and then they're going to be in the waiting room. What I want you guys to notice is the red areas of our plan. The most important thing to me is the safety of our patients, as well as the safety of my employees, or our employees. When our employees come in the morning, they're going to be walked in by armed guards. In the location, there's going to be a security guard. We're only planning on having one, and that security guard is not going to be armed because most security companies, you don't want an armed person dealing with patients and a lot of cash, but a security guard is always a great deterrent for anybody and will help people walk to their car, but there's no reason to have them armed. In our location, the red is basically all bulletproof. So after entering the lobby and being registered as a patient, if you're registered, you are allowed back into the showroom. And our receptionist is going to be behind bulletproof glass, buzzing people in. The 2 doors is basically a one-man trap. So the patient is going to enter that area, the door is going to shut, and then they're going to be buzzed into the next door, where now they're able to enter the showroom. Okay, and the showroom is where they're going to be able to pick their product, and we obviously have consultation areas if somebody's not sure what they're doing. Our employees are going to be back behind the counter, and what's most important, again, is, as you can see, our whole back area is once again bulletproof. Nobody but registered employees are going to be allowed back there. You're going to have to go through a steel door. You're going to have to be buzzed in. There's going to be fingerprint identification to get back into this area. And this is a garage where we will have armored cars come in and either bring in our product or take out our cash. They're going to be able to pull in through a garage. They then have to be buzzed into another single entry man trap where they're buzzed in and then buzzed in again. Here's where we will go over the product, and then only our employees are allowed back in the safe room, which is, once again, a whole armored area, floor to ceiling, and we're going to have 2 vaults, so the product is going to be secure, the cash is going to be secure, and only employees are going to be allowed in that area. So that's basically, everything here is secured. The only change that we've made after talking to the fire chief is if you're walking out and you need to use this, because what he recommended is that patients are going to be coming in. God forbid there's a fire and this is the easiest way to get out. They're going to be walking through this. The door will open with a fire alarm, so that's all going to be taken care of. They're going to be able to walk through this area. And the only difference is he recommended that this door right here go outwards so that there's no, people aren't going to get trapped in the one-man man trap. So all the doors will be opening in the same direction and then they could run out in case of fire safety. So we've pretty much thought of everything when it comes to safety. Here is our security plan. It basically has high security door contacts, safe vibration, hold-up buttons are all over the place. There's going to be cameras that are going to be tapped into the state police as well as Wheeling wants, and it could be tapped into the local police. Police Chief Benson could tap into this if this is something that he'd like to do.
So I think what's important to note is, in addition, is the unit and the facility is being as modern and as secure and safe for everybody involved as possible. That being said, that safety and security is meant to be, is only meant to be there for protection. I think everybody knows that you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst. We've prepared for the worst. We do not expect there to be any problems. In addition to the internal security, we are working with the landlord to plant bushes and flowers and increase the lighting and the visibility and the outdoor cameras. So while this may seem over the top or highly secured for a resident, for a suburban area, it won't actually change the way that the citizens of Wheeling, will perceive. There won't be any signage out front. This will look like any ordinary business. We are doing what we can to beautify the facility so it's a pleasant place to come for both our patients as well as our neighbors. We do not expect to have a heavy footprint or heavy traffic. And so while we want everyone to be safe and secure inside, we also want it to be picturesque and pretty outside.
It will also, when I explain the security, it's going to look like you're walking into a doctor's office. A random person is not going to know how secure it is. It will look beautiful. There will be drywall over everything. Nobody's going to know the difference.
Happy to answer any questions.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there was anybody in the audience that would have any questions, but we have nobody here. So we'll start with Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't, in looking at your packet, I did not see any kind of mention of like what hours you're going to be open. You have any idea what hours you plan on being open?
Yeah, we are going to, it's going to be, it's
state regulated.
It's state regulated. We are not going to be open any hours that the state does not allow us to be. At the beginning, we're planning on a 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., but if that's not convenient to our patients, we'll probably adjust that. It's all up in the air right now of how many patients we will have and the hours and when they're going to want to come. So whatever we do is going to be within the state guidelines. And if it's late at night, but the town, we'll bring it up with the town of Wheeling and the police chief and the neighborhood to make sure that they're okay with our hours as well. And when I say late, I mean 8 o'clock, to be open at that time, if that's what the hours allow.
So could we put the same stipulation, Andrew, that we did for the others? Okay. And you did mention about customers. What kind of traffic are you going to have as far as how many customers do you expect, like on a daily, weekly basis, to try to get a feeling of, what your expectations are for who's going to be visiting the facility.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because as of right now, there's only 200 total patients that are registered in the state of Illinois, between 200 and 300 patients. So this is going to be a slow process, hopefully ramping up in the future. What did our...
The long-term hope, goal, and estimate is for approximately 30 patients per day.
Okay. And what we like about, it's nice that it's slow right now, because we're going to be able to consult with the patients at the beginning and find out what they're looking for, what type of product they need or medicine they need for their ailments. And as it ramps up, the people who've started at the beginning, it's going to be a much quicker transaction. So we're okay with it starting slow.
Okay, it sounds to me like you have the security in order, and I saw the flow of your operation through the building, so that sounds really good. I'd like to ask a few questions about what's happening outside of the building, and then just give some of my time back so my fellow commissioners can ask some questions. In the building, you have, there was a note that you were going to put glass blocks in the front and cover the windows, and I think staff had made a recommendation, we replaced it with spandrel glass. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, we never intended of actual, I don't know how that happened. The glass blocks are going to be on the side of the building. The front is going to be just a shatterproof type glass. On the side, if you, like right by our showroom, there's up in the top corner of the building, there's some windows. Just to keep that more secure, we were going to do glass blocks so people can't see through. And I don't think the side is not the front you were talking about. I assume you were talking about the front facing Wolf?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not, we're definitely not putting glass block there.
Are any of the other, I'm not really sure, any of the other buildings there, do they have glass blocks on the side at all? I'm not sure if we want glass blocks on the side, but I guess that's something.
You know, there's other
discuss.
options. We could also do something on the inside to keep it secure. It does not have to be glass block. Glass block is thick and people can't see through it, which is nice. And when it comes to the side of the building, and being that that's our back area where we don't want patients or non-patients, we just thought something thick that would show light on the inside to get natural light to cover it up where you can't really see through it.
Okay, I wanted to ask a question about the loading door in the back. It looks like there's an implied ramp that's going to be possibly approximately 12 feet long and approximately 3 feet high, so it's going to be sloped quite a bit, and there's potential for a railing. We have a memo from the engineers about needing to see drawings. I mean, I haven't seen any kind of a drawing, so I don't even know how we would handle that, but there has to be some kind of, I guess it's a concrete ramp with some kind of railings, but we have, I guess, I haven't seen anything in our packet of how that's going to be spec'd out, and I was kind of hoping to see what that actually looked like. Have you guys designed any kind of a ramp and how that's going to look?
No, we do not have final designs of that, and we're happy to resubmit with those final designs for sign off by engineering.
So is it your intention to do that after you figure if you've been approved or not?
Correct. Yes. There's no reason to do it until we know that we have the license. And once we do have the license, we will be spending the money to make sure that happens.
Okay, but you assume that it's going to be some kind of a concrete ramp that the truck will always go in, there'll be a retractable door, he'll pull it in and you'll shut the door and then he'll do his transaction and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Okay. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Zangara.
Thank you. I guess I have a question. I don't know if staff or, I know there's a tenant next to him. Do we know what the demising wall is in between the two tenants? Is it a full height wall? Is it?
Yes, it's a full brick wall.
It's a brick wall.
Yes,
Okay.
cinder block, I should say, cinder
Okay.
block wall.
Because that was I was gonna get to my question with your security with all that bulletproof. I'm like, well, if it's just a drywall wall.
Yeah, no, we
nothing there.
definitely don't want that. It's a cinder block wall, so.
And then was there something in regards, and I missed this on the first time with the garage? They have to have their own ventilation, bringing a car into the space?
There would probably be some additional building code requirements related to having a vehicle indoors. Yes.
Okay. Otherwise, that's, going through it, the security plan looks great. The flow, you covered the exiting, because I noticed that right away too, but I read through the article. But otherwise, I really don't have too much. I just really wanted to know what was the demising, because this was the first one I think I've seen that multi-tenants in a space, so that's all I really had.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The showroom area, you've got something that looks like maybe a display counter or something, a L-shaped
Yes.
entity within the room. What is that?
It's a glass, it's a glass display counter.
Okay. Now, this is interesting because this plan that you're showing here is different than
Yeah, no, this
the
is not.
security plan.
Yeah, this is not this is our old floor plan. I don't know how this got in there. Our floor plan, our security plan there it is. I don't think that showroom was just for show. It's not gonna go all the way across because there's gotta be an easy way to get in and out, through the door. But in the plan, it was just there to show that that's a display. I don't know if that was gonna be your question, but.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's no way, if that's your display area, there's no way for anybody to get out
Yeah,
the rear door on either of the floor plans.
Right.
Yeah, that is, and trust me, when I've gone to some of these Colorado medical dispensaries, and you're definitely not going to need a showcase that's nearly that big. That was just our architect drawing.
Okay, I would like to see an accurate representation of what the floor plan is going to look like, because both these diagrams don't seem to be what you're eventually going to
Absolutely.
do. Can you tell me how many employees you expect to have at peak operating?
At peak operating,
Times.
I think that we're going to be able to handle it with 3 to 4 people on staff at any given time. We are not going to need more than that. We will probably, and that's not including the security guard, but I don't think we're going to need more than 3 or 4 people. The transactions, the amount of people that are going to come in and the transactions will be quick. We'll probably have 1 consultation person. We'll have a couple of cashiers and a receptionist.
It bothers me a little bit that, there's only going to be 1 dispensary that's allowed in the 2 townships that we're currently a member of. And other people that have applied, the last person that was in said that they would probably need 10 employees, and that their number of visits per day was double or triple what you're anticipating. Can you tell me why your business plan is for a number that is lower than what the other entities are pushing for?
Sure. I think everybody, so I have been a part of startup companies, as I said, for 17 years. And it's always best to, hope for the best but prepare for the worst. And businesses are about revenue. And while it would be great to assume that you're going to have 60 patients a day, I think that would be great if there were 60 patients per day. That being said, I think it's a high estimate. This is a business that can be scaled, so if more employees are needed, we're happy to staff it with whether it's 3 or 4 or 8 or 10. I think initially, it will not be nearly that number, and we are expecting that over the course of the first year, it to be rather slow, and which is a good thing because any bugs that are in the system can be worked out when it's not busy. And as the business grows and as more patients are registered specifically with that dispensary, we will have a better expectation for the amount of flow that comes in. I can't explain why one person thinks they're going to do that much more business. It's just an estimate, but I think the importance is that Matt has staffed and operated in facilities identical to this in terms of somebody being at the front to check IDs, somebody being in the back to go over the types of products, and then, of course, security and other people in there for when somebody is on a break.
Right. I guess my concern, though, is one of the parking demand that's going to be placed on the facility, right? Patrons will need to park in the front. They're not going to be able to park in the back. Your employees can probably
Park in the
Can they
back.
park in the back?
Absolutely.
The employees can park in the back and will be encouraged to park in the back. I believe there are 35 parking spots
Up front.
up in the front of the building. This is not a very lengthy stay. While we do expect that in the patient's first and second and third or fourth visit, that the consultation period will be longer. But as more and more data comes out about which strains of medical cannabis are appropriate for which specific ailments, these patients will know what they want, and therefore the length of stay within the facility will get shorter and shorter over time, to the extent at some point where it will be, they will call in, pre-order, they'll come in, we'll check the systems, come in, they'll receive their product, pay for their product, and leave. We're expecting a very short stay by those patients. And so you've made it clear with SuperDogs that you're a stickler for parking. We certainly don't want to inconvenience the patients. We don't want to inconvenience our neighbors. But we don't expect there to be a lot of people at the same time.
But you've got 14 seats in the waiting room, right?
Well, there's 14, yeah. So there's 14. Oh, I'm so sorry, I apologize. So the facility is, the space is more than we need. And so there's chairs and there's couches to make it look comfortable. There are multiple offices to a certain extent fill out the space. We have visited a number of these facilities throughout the country. As a whole, they are generally a half this size. But this is, we have had wonderful interactions with the landlord. I'm sorry. This was simply a facility that, from a security standpoint, given the concrete walls, given the ability to have a car in the back, this is what we were dealing with. So those 14 seats, I think, are going to be empty most of the day. Nobody wants to walk in and see nothing. There's a lot of, yes.
Andrew, how many parking spaces are available on the facility itself?
They have a total of 64, 65. We counted, I think, 65. They counted 64. We also counted their indoor space as a space, but our counts came up one off of each other somehow.
And what would if you were to divide the units up, how many typical parking spaces would be allocated to this particular use based upon the layout of the building
If you're
today?
looking at the layout of the building today, you have the typical unit may have a maximum of 1,000 square feet of office space, which would be 4 stalls, and the rest of it would be warehouse space. So another 1.5, 2 stalls. So your typical unit, if you just took the standard of a small office and the rest warehouse, probably in that neighborhood. The trend in these buildings is to probably be a little bit higher on the office than that. But so far as we were able to obtain from the petitioner and our own records, that's more or less what they are right now, is that the breakdown of offices. I think the number that you guys came up with was 12% with 88% warehouse.
78 and, yeah, 12 and it's 88.
So I think that, I think I put a note on your plan, just so that there we go. Just so I would remember this. The total office, after you add this proposed business to it, this was the requirement that we came up with. Using the general breakdown of what we believe the rest of the space is right now.
So how many parking spaces do you think would on the site be available for this particular unit?
I think the availability is there. I think the question is proximity to the door. That's, I think, when you've got a number of units, we have 8 total units and all 8 front doors. For any of those units that have a need for public access to their front door, customer access, they're all sharing the front essentially. So,
But again, all the employees could potentially park in the rear areas.
that's right.
So do you think that, I figured out that based upon their use, they'd need about 12 parking spaces per our code. Is that roughly?
14 is the number from the staff report.
In your opinion, are there 14 spaces immediately available?
When we did the analysis on this, we didn't have any particular concern with it. We felt that there was some room for some of the other units. There are a couple of vacant units in this building right now, for some of them to come in with a higher ratio of office, and we still had some room to work with there. We also felt that although it would eat up green space, there is available land in the front to expand parking if the projections are incorrect and there's greater than anticipated demand. I think, as the petitioner said, that with a fairly modest projection, they certainly seem capable of handling it on the site.
And there was some concern about bus parking and...
Yes, were you able to determine?
Yeah, the owner of the property assured us that if we got the license and were in the unit, that bus would definitely not be there. I think he was allowing his friend to use a parking spot for a few days. It's nothing permanent.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's my only concern.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorband.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess this is a question for staff first. Were the residents across the street on Wolf notified?
Yes, I don't know the total number. Do you know the total number of houses across the street in the end?
I think we notified 16 total, 16 total people, or property owners were notified within the
think-
250 square foot radius.
Let me see if I can go back to the aerial photo. The 250-foot range covered the ones that were immediately across the street. I don't know, I think maybe one or two fell inside on this block as well, but they were generally the ones that are immediately across the street. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses possibly.
Of these houses, because I wasn't at the first meeting with the first petitioner, how close are, what's the difference in these homes across the street from this facility compared to the first one and where the homes are? Because when I looked at the aerial view of the first one, it appeared that the houses were a great deal farther away from the first petitioner.
The distance is probably comparable if you're talking door to door. I don't have that in front of me right now, but the distance is probably comparable. The barrier, this is a different type of barrier. The Wolf Road is in between these two. On the other, the creek and the open space by the creek was the barrier between the two. But the distance is probably similar.
But do you think this is closer?
I would say these are probably similar in total distance. It's just a matter of
Okay.
what's in between.
And just out of curiosity, I know that you said you talked with John Malenafee. Have you talked to other towns as well about applying for positions?
Yes, we've
Yes,
talked to
we did.
Waukegan, we've talked to the city of Chicago as well.
And the city of Highland Park.
Of which?
Highland Park.
Oh, and
Oh, sorry.
I think those are my only questions. Oh, I too have a question about the glass block. I'm not crazy about that thought, especially looking especially out on Wolf Road.
No, the glass block we were talking about is not on Wolf Road. It's facing the little tree-lined area. The front is just going to be a shatterproof glass. There's going to be absolutely no glass block on the front part of the building. I want people to be able to look into the establishment, see how clean it is, feel safe when they're looking into the lobby area. It's just going to be nice glass.
And I assume also, Andrew, that have you gotten any calls from any of the 3 petitioners we've had so far concerned about these facilities in their area?
From the residents or anybody? No, we've not received, to my knowledge, I don't think we've received a single phone call. We did have at one hearing, there was a business at the hearing on Foster. There was a business, a neighboring business, but we have not had calls from residents.
Okay, thank you. That's my only questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, a lot of my questions were answered, but Andrew, one for staff. Is there a parking calculation for this type of facility that would require more handicap spots?
I don't think there is. I think that the other petitioners thus far have asked that of their landlords. Well, in the one case, they were purchasing the property, but the other multi-tenant was going to be the landlord. But they had eaten up a few more spaces with
Yeah.
handicap parking stalls.
I would think some of your clients, patients, customers are going to have some kind of physical.
Directly in front.
Yeah, but I'm thinking you probably want to make another one at least. Just,
We could definitely talk to the landlord about doing that. We're redoing the ramp by the building, so we could definitely talk to him to see if we could secure another handicap spot near our location.
because right now it looked like there was only one at your end and one all the way at the other end. So that would be a recommendation for me. You said 3 to 4 people you think to start with and 1 guard?
Yeah, I mean, to start with, absolutely. We definitely want 1 security guard just to be there to walk people in and out if they need it.
But
Otherwise,
during a delivery?
no, just in the lobby, in the reception area.
Okay, but when your delivery takes place?
That's going to be all by armored truck, and they will have their own guards.
Okay.
That security guard is not going to be allowed. That will not be a registered employee that's allowed in the back area.
Okay.
Because they're normally from different companies, and it's just not worth any liability.
Andrew, can you bring up the newer floor plan?
Yeah, one more.
Where's the vault on this?
Well, we didn't draw the vault, but the vault is going to be, if you see that black line in the receiving room, that's going to be where the vaults are going to be, right in the middle.
There may be a symbol for it on your security plan. There's a.
Oh, yeah, if you go one more, I think there was a symbol for it. Or do you, Bryce, you could?
I wasn't sure if Andrew.
Yeah. I think the,
Safe
yeah, the
vibration.
safe contact. So it's going to be right in the middle. And that is a whole secure vault room. It's all going to be in steel bulletproof floor to ceiling. So this ceiling, it'll be a 6-way vault and then safes inside of it. But those are the only things that are going to be allowed in there besides the people.
Okay. Because I know on the plan we got last week, there was a definite vault.
Yeah, the truth is until you see it and we have another security company come and analyze it with the alarms, you want to be able to put the vault in a section where the motions can do most of the work for you. So if something does happen and somebody does somehow, without all the exterior alarms going off, gets into that room, we need to make sure that those vaults are in the perfect situation with the sensors, the motion sensors. So at least that secure room is, they could go off and notify the police. Like we said, we don't anticipate that happening, but until I truly see what it looks like, you learn from mistakes on where to and where not to put a vault. And it's just how it is. But we will definitely have them there in the middle somewhere.
Okay. Last thing I have is there any expected date in the future that the state is going to make these decisions?
We've actually been notified by the state as part of our application. I don't know when they're going to start really choosing people or deciding, but I think they're into the part where they're starting to contact some of the applicants.
Yeah, the original expectation was by year end. Sorry. The original expectation was by year end, but as everybody knows, we're under new management in the state of Illinois. And so we aren't sure how that will affect the timing. So we're hopeful for the end of the year. This is the state of Illinois making the decision. We have no control over the timing.
Before they can decide, you have to have this part of it done, though, right? You have to have a facility lined up and a plan.
Yes, correct.
I mean, you obviously have an application in,
Correct.
but before they would give final approval, they need to know this all took
Correct.
place.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. That's correct.
Thanks for clarifying that for me and our home audience. Anybody have any other questions? Mr. Jennings, do we have any?
There are a few conditions based on the discussion. I think I got a couple of nods of consensus, so I'll just run through these. Number one, that the operating hours of 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. may be extended to 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. as allowed by the state. Number two, that the glass block is limited to the south elevation with the front windows to be shatterproof glass. And number three, the petitioner work with the landlord to secure a second accessible parking stall near the front entrance.
Andrew, can I ask you about the engineer's memo? Because, I mean, they mentioned something about, I don't even know where in the process this comes, about the construction of the ramp and all of that. And I think we have some, floor plans that are different. So how does that all get solidified? I know there's a cost involved with that, but I mean, as part of any kind of condition, especially the ramp in the back, that design, is there any way that can be incorporated as a condition at all?
Sure, you could. What the engineer is suggesting, and for the petitioner's benefit, I can hand you a copy of this. I don't think I had it early today. So the main, the theme of the engineer's memo is that there are permitting requirements associated with the ramp. The village engineer has suggested maintaining the drainage. They visited the property. The drainage runs away from the building currently. They are noting that that should be maintained in the future, and that the exact method of construction for the ramp and how it ties into either the building or the ground would be covered during the permit review. And I think that that can be covered as a condition of approval, that the construction of the ramp and the associated drainage be meet the specifications of the village engineer.
Anything else from the commission? So now we have 4 conditions.
Oh, and the bus too?
I don't know.
And I'd also like to add a condition that a new floor plan chart be included in the packet before submission to the village board.
Was there a consensus on the bus, or is that just a
I don't know.
response to the?
Do we need to make a
question.
condition on the bus being gone? I don't see how it really affects the business.
Well, it depends how much parking, how many parking spaces the bus consumes at any given point in time. If
Well,
it-
is the assertion enough, that the landlord has said that it'll be removed and it's not a permanent structure there? Does that meet the concerns enough, I guess, to be enough to be a condition? I mean, that's up to you guys, but no, I guess my concern would be it's not something that's there all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Because we said 3 different ones, actually.
Sounds like a poll commission to me,
What, on,
on whether we're concerned about the bus or not.
do we need to make that a condition on this docket, Commissioner Stylen?
Sure.
Commissioner Zangara?
Nah, I don't think so, no.
Commissioner Dorband?
I don't think so.
Commissioner Powers?
Yeah, I'd like to see this condition.
And I don't think so, I think we'll trust the landlord will do what he said.
Okay, so I've got the additional 2 conditions. The construction of the ramp and associated drainage meet the specifications of the village engineer. And number 5, that the floor plan is updated for consistency prior to review by the village board.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Stylen, seconded by Commissioner Zangara. Mr. Secretary?
I'm Commissioner Stylen. I vote yes. Commissioner Zangara?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband?
Yes?
Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
Acting Chairman Johnson?
Yes.
That's 5 yes with 2 absent.
And we need a motion to close that, please.
Thank you.
And we need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Not really open business. It's not really open business, but.
slides for your presentation.
Ah. Lazy. It's too dry for a slide. I decided to put it to song instead, if that's okay with you guys. I will need a space cleared out here. For the tap dancing.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck with the state.
All right, docket number 2014-16, number 2, continued from November 6, 2014, public hearing, Village of Wheeling amendments to Title 19 zoning. Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The original intention of this continued discussion was to present a more finalized version of the building material appendix. That is not yet available. I do intend to have it in a near final form for our next meeting. However, we did have something that came up that we do need to correct. This originally opened with a handful of amendments. One of the amendments was to our Title 19's reference to the schedule of fees. The way that we had originally drafted that and which was approved, we have determined that it is not totally consistent with the finance department's changes to the schedule of fees for consideration by the board in December. And what I have placed in front of you today, the yellow, would correct that. There's a lot of text there that is mostly a repeat of the old section. We just put numbers to it, identifying which of our items require a fee and which items do not require a fee. So all of that remains the same with numbers added to it, as I said. The only change to this, if you look down to the strike-through area, there's a reference made to the deposit several times. There will be no deposits. There will not be a public hearing signed deposit, and there will not be a administrative deposit either. Those will be absorbed into the fee. The fee will be updated to reflect the removal of the deposits. So it'll be essentially the same fee. We had, as I mentioned at the last hearing on the topic, we have a lot of staff time associated with tracking deposits so that we can refund them. We've determined that it is not worth the time for the number of people whose deposit is not sufficient. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions on this. If there are no major concerns, what we'd like to do is still go ahead and send this one on to the board so that it can catch up with the other amendments. Still continuing the docket, though, and leaving it open so that the building materials can come back on December 4th.
Okay.
Are there any questions on this?
Mr. Stylen.
Yeah, Andrew, under the fee schedule, item number 2, the last line is a fee for remodeling variation for single-family residential.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is?
Well, some of those are now absorbed into our administrative variations. A remodeling variation for single-family residential, prior to the adoption of our administrative variation, these were variations related to existing conditions mostly. You have an addition on a house that lines up with the rest of the house. It's in a non-conforming setback. You have a garage that's being rebuilt in a location that would be non-conforming. Those previously had come in as a remodeling variation. The fee for a single-family remodeling variation was lower, and it remains that way. I don't want to say that it's totally obsolete. I just can't currently think of one. I don't think we've had one in several years. Yes, we did have them. Yes, we've had the one that did not fall under one of. We have several criteria for an administrative variation. We had one.
But these are all external changes to the building, nothing to do with internal remodeling of.
Yes, I mean for the most part, I would think that they'd mostly be external. There are some. Removing a garage could be viewed as a single-family remodeling variation, but they're few and far between.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right.
Oh, sorry, this does also include, while we took out the deposit for a public hearing sign, the way that we are going to deal with that in the unlikely event of damage to a public hearing sign, there's a fine that's meant to cover the cost of replacement. Are there any other questions on this?
So do we need to vote on this?
I do need to vote on this recommendation and then a continuation of the other part of the docket to December 4th.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Stylin, seconded by Commissioner Powers. Mr. Secretary?
I'm Commissioner Stylin. I vote yes. Commissioner Powers,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband,
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara,
Yes.
Acting Chairman Johnson,
Yes.
7 yes.
Five.
Also make,
Only 5 yes.
excuse me, 5 yes, 2
Allowing-
absent.
allowing
I'll
for
also make a
inflation.
recommendation to continue the docket. Do we need a date certain?
Date certain of December 4th, please.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Stylin, seconded by Commissioner Dorband. Do we just a voice vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's see. Approval of minutes for November 6, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Other business. Mr. Jennings, you got anything?
I have no other business. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Stylin?
Our sympathies go out to the Argyros family for their loss, and everybody else here have a happy Thanksgiving. To the residents of our village, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Commissioner Zangara?
Just to have a happy Thanksgiving, and if I'm correct, there's a lighting thing on Sunday?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone know what time? Just got back, so.
4:30. 4:30 is the actual ceremony starts.
Okay,
4:30.
At Friendship Park.
okay. That's all.
Commissioner Dorband?
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Powers?
My condolences to the Argyros family and happy Thanksgiving.
And I will echo the happy Thanksgiving and the condolences. Brooke? Miller? Anything?
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, that's all.
All right. Do I hear a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.